Gettysburg Licensed Battlefield Guides, my name is Fran Feyock. We are standing in the Soldiers National Cemetery today, and probably one of the most unusual Memorial Days we will ever experience in our guiding career. As the COVID virus has reduced visitation, we have a small group of people out today placing flags to honor those that have died in the Civil War and the wars across our nation. As we stand here on Memorial Day, we can't help but think about how the world seems to have an endless supply of young men who will fight and die for their country, their cause, and issues. Issues usually defined by the oldest men in our nation. We stopped today to tell the story of one 20-year-old soldier named Samuel Cramer. Samuel Cramer is in the 142nd Regiment, raised from Western Pennsylvania. He is one of 5 children of the Cramer family. Let me correct that. 7 children of the Cramer family. He is 20 years old here at Gettysburg. Why does a 20-year-old come to fight? It's one of the questions guides are asked all the time. We don't know. Is it for honor? Is it for duty? Is it for peer pressure? Is it for mom and dad? We don't know. But over the years, soldiers from armies around the world put men like this into action to settle differences. Samuel Cramer in the 142nd Pennsylvania will arrive on the battlefield on July 1st, and they're going to walk right into a maelstrom on the west side of town in front of a seminary, on a ridge named Seminary Ridge. Now the emergency is getting worse in the afternoon. As the sun is setting, the hot air of July 1st is pressing down on the 142nd Pennsylvania. Only 336 men strong. Cramer belongs to a company in that unit, Company B. They have 35 men reported. But as the afternoon wears on, these men are pressed forward to try to stop Robert Edward Lee's Confederates from taking the ridge and ultimately taking the town of Gettysburg. As they move forward, they move into a trap. Robert Edward Lee's Confederates have almost surrounded the entire Union force on this ridge, and as the afternoon sun wears on, they spring that trap. The heavy air is now filled with cannon fire, bullets, and lead, and the 142nd moves into this. And as they do, one of those pieces of lead strikes Samuel Cramer in his arm, and then a second one in his left thigh. Cramer falls. He has not died on the battlefield, but he is one of the 5 men of Company B that gets out of this action. He awakes at the seminary hospital, and he discovers that his arm and his leg have been amputated. At 20 years old, a disfiguring injury at best. Now Cramer is able to send a letter home, probably written by a nurse, probably written by a civilian, writing a letter home to his mother in Mount Pleasant, Pennsylvania. He describes his actions of that day and his wounding, and probably tells her, I'm not going to survive this. And he won't. He will leave on July 9th, 1863. However, the letter gets back there. Mrs. Cramer receives a letter from Samuel. And when she opens the letter, she is horrified to find that not only her 20-year-old son was wounded, but his 2 brothers that were with him in the Company B, Adam Cramer and Enos Cramer, had died in the conflict. Life changes in a minute, folks, for soldiers fighting on a battlefield. And for Catherine Cramer, in a minute, 3 of her sons were removed from this earth. We stop on Memorial Day to think about the soldiers across all the wars across the world that have fought and died. But for a moment, I want you to go to those people who are left behind that get to place flags and discuss their actions and bravery. I'd like to close with a letter from Abraham Lincoln that he wrote in 1864. And he wrote the letter to a Massachusetts mother named Lucilia Bixby. Lincoln believed that her 5 sons had died over the Civil War battle, and he wrote a letter to her about her loss. History will show that she did not lose all 5 of her sons, but she lost 3 of her sons, and over a period of 1863 to 1864. She did not face the horror that the Cramer family faced when they heard the news in July 1863. We're standing in the Soldiers National Cemetery. This is the place where Lincoln gave the Gettysburg Address. I think the President would be all right if I closed this presentation writing the letter to Mrs. Cramer from Abraham Lincoln that he sent to the Bixbys. Because in a strange way, it applies to all our soldiers who are buried and who we honor today on Memorial Day. Executive Mansion, Washington, D.C., Washington City, November 21st, 1864. Dear Madam, I have been shown in the files of the War Department a statement of the Adjutant General of Massachusetts that you are the mother of 5 sons who have died gloriously on the field of battle. I feel how weak and fruitless must be any word of mine which should attempt to beguile you from the grief and the loss so overwhelming. But I cannot refrain from tendering to you the consolation that may be found in the thanks of the Republic that they died to save. I pray that our Heavenly Father may assuage the anguish of your bereavement and leave you only the cherished memory of the loved and lost, and the solemn pride that must be yours to have laid so costly a sacrifice upon the altar. The 2 Cramer brothers that died with their brother Samuel were never found on the battlefield. At Gettysburg, we have 979 soldiers in unmarked graves, the unknowns. It is our fervent hope that his 2 brothers are within hearing my words today. For the Licensed Battlefield Guide Association of Gettysburg, I'm Fran Feyock.